So I've got a confession to make.
I'm gay!
I have never played a Souls game in my life, and recently I started playing Sekiro because I thought it would be the perfect introduction to the Souls genre. However, that wasn't a good idea, since Sekiro is regarded as one of the hardest Souls games of all time. However, I don't plan on backing down from the challenge.
Never back down, never what? Never give up!
I refuse to play another Souls game until I finish Sekiro. So with all that being said, it's time to go beat one of the hardest Souls games of all time. Well actually, before that, I have to give you some context. You see, it's been a while since I last played Sekiro. And the thing is, when you don't play games for a while, you tend to forget the controls. And that's what happened to me. So long story short, I made it all the way to the Genichiro boss fight and took a break from playing Sekiro. And when I came back to fight him again, I got absolutely destroyed. So to make things easy, I decided to restart all the way from the beginning. The only downside to this was that I had to fight the bosses I beat all over again. And the first boss I encountered was the Chained Ogre.
Oh shit!
The Chained Ogre is just painful to go up against. All he does is try to grab you the entire fight. And grabs are unblockable, so if you get caught, you're basically dead. It took me a while, but eventually I was able to kill him. And it doesn't get any easier from here, because next I have to fight.
My name is Gyobu Masataka!
And when I first played against Gyobu, he had me wondering if I should quit the game or not. That's how bad I struggled. But this time was different. The biggest mistake I made in our first encounter was trying to dodge his attacks instead of parrying. And that's when I learned that dodging in this game is useless. So when I started to parry, it made it a lot easier to beat him. Following the Gyobu boss fight is the Blazing Bull, who in my opinion is the worst mini boss in the game. All you do in this fight is parry, attack, and run away. Getting past the bull, I have now finally made it back to Ashina Castle. But before I can fight Genichiro, an Ashina elite stands in my way. And he just spams one move the entire fight. After killing him, I make my way to Genichiro. And this was the furthest I had gotten in my first playthrough. So that means I am here to redeem myself. But that didn't happen.
Trash!
Genichiro is one of those boss fights that force you to get better at the game. He's considered to be a skill check, meaning he is a boss designed to make sure that the player has mastered the game's combat mechanics if they want to win, which is why a lot of people end up quitting on Genichiro. And to make it even worse, he has 3 phases. However, once you understand how to beat him, he becomes one of the easiest boss fights in the game. And as soon as I learned Genichiro's attack pattern, the fight just clicked. I was starting to play a lot better, and after a few attempts I was able to get past his first and second phase. In the third phase, Genichiro can use lightning, but you can also reverse the lightning onto him. You just have to time your jumps correctly. And the lightning reversals really help in beating Genichiro, because it makes it easier to break his posture. Eventually, I was finally able to kill him. Next, I traveled to Senpu Temple, and here I ran into this mini boss who looks like he's cosplaying as a Dark Souls character. And he wasn't that hard to beat. All he does is swing his big sword around. To beat him, you just have to make him fall off a bridge. And this wasn't the only boss fight I had at Senpu Temple, because next I had to fight the folding screen monkeys, and this was the easiest boss fight in the game. All you have to do is kill 4 monkeys. The only good thing about this boss fight is once you kill all the monkeys, you end up unlocking a new weapon, the Mortal Blade. Not only does it look cool, it also does a lot of damage. And it was exactly what I needed to fight the Guardian Ape. And this boss fight was pretty difficult because I couldn't parry his attacks. I was just getting destroyed the entire time.
Oh, my back!
But to beat the Guardian Ape, the Mortal Blade really helps because it can stun lock him and you can keep using it even after you run out of spirit emblems. But the crazy part is, the Guardian Ape has 2 phases. Once you decapitate him, the ape will play dead for a few seconds before getting up again. Luckily, his second phase is a lot easier to beat because now I can actually parry his attacks. It took a few hours, but I managed to kill the Guardian Ape for real this time.
Are you sure about that?
After I beat the Guardian Ape, I decided to take a break from the main story and went to go do a side quest at Hirata Estate, and here I can fight Lady Butterfly, who was a pretty easy boss fight. All you have to do is play aggressive and keep on attacking her. In the second phase, she can use summons, but that's pretty much it. All of her basic attacks are the exact same as they were in the first phase, so defeating Lady Butterfly was a piece of cake. Now going back to the main story, I had made my way to the Ashina Depths because I had to collect a certain item for the story to progress. And while I was exploring, I ran into a familiar face.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And the worst part about this boss fight is that you have to fight 2 apes.
What? Oh hell no!
The best thing to do is target the second ape that appears, since he has less health. It's just hard to do when you're getting jumped the entire fight. But once you take out the second ape, it will make things a lot easier. After collecting the item that I needed for the story to progress, I went back to Ashina Castle and there was someone waiting for me. And that was the Great Shinobi Owl, who wanted me to join his side and betray Kuro. But I ended up saying no, and Owl didn't like my decision and tries to attack me from behind.
Pause.
This boss fight was really challenging since Owl has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He can use firecrackers, poison, shuriken, which can get pretty annoying to deal with. I was stuck on this boss fight for about 2 hours. But eventually I managed to get past the first phase. And to beat Owl's second phase, I would wait for him to attack and then hit him with the Mortal Blade. It took me several attempts, but in the end I managed to beat him. Once I defeated Owl, I made my way to Fountainhead Palace. And here I encountered the Corrupted Monk. Getting past her first phase was pretty easy since I had already fought her at Mibu Village. And the second phase isn't anything too crazy, she just disappears for a while and you have to fight her shadows. However, if you grapple onto a tree branch, you can hit her with a death blow. Which then takes us to the third phase, which is my least favorite phase to fight of hers. But to beat her third phase, using the Fistful of Ash consumable really helps, as it stun locks her for a few seconds, allowing me to get in some easy damage. Through this method, I managed to beat the Corrupted Monk. Following this boss fight was the Divine Dragon. As intimidating as the Divine Dragon looks, this was actually a really easy boss fight. I just grappled and shot lightning the entire time and that was it. After beating the Divine Dragon, I returned back to Ashina Castle and then made my way to the Secret Passage to fight the final boss. But before I can do that, I have to face Genichiro for the 3rd time, and he has also obtained a Mortal Blade. But that didn't matter, because I defeated Genichiro on my first attempt. Defeating Genichiro, he will then summon Prime Sword Saint Ishin, who in my opinion is the best boss in the game. Every phase is unique and challenges everything you have learned up until that point, which is what makes this final battle so legendary. Ishin's first phase is difficult, but isn't anything too crazy. Besides this slash attack he does, every other move is just to test your skill. The first phase is just a warm-up, because when you get to the second phase, that's where it gets challenging. Because Ishin is extremely aggressive, being able to break your posture in an instant with only a few hits. And he also has a gun. But luckily his third phase is the easiest, because we can now do lightning reversals. Ishin is still the hardest boss I fought in the game, because it took me 2 days to beat him.
Do it! Well done, Sekiro. Farewell.
But before I finished the game, there was one more boss that I needed to beat, and that was the Demon of Hatred, who is considered to be the hardest boss in Sekiro. And that's because most of his attacks are unblockable, you just have to run around and try not to get hit. Which can be pretty tough to do since you can't really dodge in Sekiro. The only way to beat the Demon of Hatred is by staying as close as you can and hitting him in the balls.
Grab his dick and twist it!
Fighting the Demon of Hatred is no joke. This is basically a Dark Souls boss in Sekiro. He's fast and aggressive, and almost all of his attacks do chip damage if you parry him. I was fighting this boss for 3 hours until I finally beat him. Now after finally beating Sekiro, I can say this is easily one of my favorite Souls games of all time. Everything about this game is amazing. Its world building, combat, boss fights. I didn't think Souls games would be this fun, but Sekiro proved me wrong. Which is why I would give Sekiro a 10 out of 10. I really enjoyed this game. But what I didn't enjoy was fighting the headless monster.
What? No, dude!